Paul McNamara reporting there. Well, joining me now from Virginia is retired Major General Randy Manner, who's the former Vice Chief of the National Guard here in Washington, D.C. Thanks so much for coming on the program. Do you think the deployment of 2,000 National Guardsmen who are now armed was necessary in order to combat crime in this city?
Like most Americans, I fully support community-based efforts to reduce crime using trained law enforcement officers with an effective judicial court system. This is at most should be a law enforcement operation, not a military operation. Our National Guard and our military are absolutely not trained for this mission. They are trained to attack and destroy the enemy. Last time I checked, there's no one to attack and destroy in Washington, at least to the best of my knowledge. It's a very dangerous mix. The idea that the press has not even yet uncovered what the rules for the use of force are that every young soldier and airman should be carrying on their person with a laminated card, like whenever I was the acting deputy chief of the National Guard Bureau. This is very insulting to all of our family members who are having their young men and women either yanked out of college to be put on the streets of Washington or removed from their employers, where in many cases they're earning more money before compared to what they're being paid here, as well as, of course, it's changing the entire way that citizens view the National Guard, which is, instead of it being, we're here to help you in times of disaster, such as hurricanes and flooding and forest fires, here they are being used as an intimidation factor for which they have not been trained. This is, it's very heartbreaking, again, for our American citizens in the city of Washington, and it's also heartbreaking to see our young men and women in uniform, these scarce resources being misused in the way that they are.
Okay, so the president says this was necessary, this deployment, because of the, quote, horrible crime figures in the nation's capital. And since the deployment of these troops, he said the crime has gone right down. There's not been a single homicide in the last week. Do you buy that?
I think that there's anything that you can do for the president to justify the use of the militarization of our cities, particularly those that are not supportive of his policies, is what he will continue to follow. I think it's more important that if indeed there are crime problems, you don't bring in the United States Army through the National Guard to, quite frankly, intimidate all the people that are there. Instead, what you do is you refund the police, you refund the training programs, you help fill the gaps in the needs for the Metropolitan Police Department and other departments to ensure they have enough officers on the streets. Again, this is not a military operation. This is a law enforcement operation. So it's using the wrong tool to solve the problem. And it's something where the unintended consequences are that we have political props that are basically the young men and women in uniform, and it disturbs me greatly.
Right. Finally and briefly, do you think that those troops deployed now, and they're all armed, might actually use live ammunition against protesters at some stage in the near future?
Again, it's important to say, what are the rules for use of force? Every single soldier receives a briefing, but I will tell you that I have sat in them and I have given them, and an hour later, you don't remember. It's important that these soldiers and airmen and the press and the protesters fully understand what are the terms for the use of force so that everyone can be clear, not the fact to allow some young soldier or airman to use his or her weapon inappropriately compared to the training, exhaustive training, many months that police officers receive compared to a few hours that a National Guardsman would receive.